Hello, farmers, and welcome to a spooky episode of the harvest season. My name is Al.
My name is Jonnie.
No spooky version of your name, no?
Sorry, I was laughing way too hard. That really caught me off guard.
Mm. Uh, and we're here today to talk about spooky games. Fantastic. I wasn't planning to do that. There we go. Welcome. This is the annual spooky episode that is totally original and no one else ever does. We're gonna specifically talk about spooky stuff that is in farming games, and I'll leave it at that just now, and we'll leave you in the suspense, unless you want to obviously skip forward to that chapter, which obviously you don't want to do, because you want to hear all the news that we're going to talk about, and also you want to hear what Jonnie has been up to.
Yeah. I've been up to some games. I've been playing the was it Legend of Zelda Echoes of Midden?
Echoes of Wisdom.
I feel like. Yeah, no, I'm going to call it Midden because...
Oh, okay.
I don't know. So
I missed the joke first time round, sorry.
I like the idea of what the game is trying to do, and I feel like they ran out of ideas after about 30 seconds, because the whole game is just use these echoes to climb up on things. That's it. That's the game, right? Like, I've done like maybe the first 3 big riffs, and I bounced off, and I don't really feel a strong desire to go back, because I just don't think that game is doing... It's got a cool idea, it's just not actually using that idea to do anything interesting, is kind of my take.
So what I would say is, I don't disagree with you in so much as you are right in that the game is basically figuring out different ways to climb up things, right? That is true. However, I'm personally finding that fun because it's more and more convoluted ways to climb up on things, because the areas you have to reach are higher. But no, I mean, you're not wrong, and I can see how that would not necessarily be fun for everyone.
Yeah, like, cool idea. I think it suffers from a problem that I have with a lot of Nintendo games, that like the writing is exceptionally basic.
Wait,
try
is the
hard.
writing in this game?
I mean, yeah, like you've got try hard, right? Your like companion that just says the same thing over and over and is very annoying. Like my friends are stuck here and I can open a door and we have to go around and find five. Like, it just feels it's overly formulaic, which I think is kind of depressing, given the conceit of the game, or the idea of the game is like creativity, and like there's no creativity in the world or the writing or anything else that's gone on around it. It's just I don't know, for me this game has just kind of missed the mark in a way that I feel like I'm maybe out of step with the majority opinion, but I just have higher expectations.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, I'm not trying to claim it's like Game of the Year or anything, but I am having fun. I have taken a break from the game because Pokemon keep bringing me back and making me do things.
But before we get to your jump back into Pokemon, the other game we've been playing, because it is Spooky Month, is Inscription. I don't know if you've played Inscription, Al. It's I've had a lot of thought about how I described this game today, because it's technically, I guess, a roguelite card game.
No!
But that description also feels very unfair, in that the main thrust of the game is narrative. So you are...
Never mind then.
Yeah, so you are playing a game that is like, it's about a story, and there is a roguelike card game element that helps you progress the story, but it's much more about the story than it is about the card game, if that makes sense.
Yes, that does make sense.
And so Inscription was really popular, like, I don't know, or when it first came out, I think it got quite, good reviews. And kind of like Echoes of Wisdom, it's a game that I think starts out really strong, and then fades off quite quickly. And I have finished Inscription at this point. It's not a particularly long game. And I thought it was good. I don't think it was as good as, I remember people being about it, and I could be, misremembering, but I kind of felt like it fell off. And it had one of those narratives that kind of, while decent, it did have a little bit of, thinking it was more of an intelligent narrative than it was. Like, it is kind of a little bit flimsy when you start to scratch past the surface of what they're trying to do. But I think a cool concept, fine game for the length. And I'm not a big spooky fan, so that's about as spooky as I want to get in spooky month. So that's my bit for October.
So not playing that Pumpkin Panic.
No, I will probably not be playing Pumpkin Panic.
I don't think I would play that again. It was quite terrifying.
But yeah, that's what I've been up to. What have you been up to?
Yes, well, Pokemon for some reason.
Why? Al?
No, I think
why?
we all know the reason, right? Like, I'm getting my shiny Meloetta.
No, I legitimately do not know the reason.
Oh, you're not been paying attention to that. So
no,
they added an update to Pokemon Home that meant that if you have completed the Pokedex for all 3 Pokedexes for Scarlet and Violet, and you've transferred all of those Pokemon into Home from the games, so they all have to be either caught or bred in Scarlet and Violet, then you get a shiny Meloetta, which is the first time that Meloetta has been released as shiny. So, because
wait, what do you mean all 3?
So the Paldea Dex, and then the 2 DLC ones, the one for Kitakami
right,
and the one for Blueberry Academy.
I am like legitimately looking up Meloetta now because I don't even really know what their Pokemon is.
The singing Pokemon. It was Gen 5.
Has not helped me at all.
Meloetta was Gen 5. If I
do not think I've ever seen this thing before.
I'm a failure in my Pokemon knowledge. Gen 5, I was correct. Woo!
Yeah, I don't think I've ever seen this thing before.
Sad. Well, there you go. So I've been doing that. Look, we all know those games have issues.
I bet that's correct.
I am not trying to claim they do not. I'm not going to say I'm not enjoying myself, but I'm not going to say I am enjoying myself.
Yeah, so you're not enjoying yourself. That's all right, we understand.
I am not hating it.
Well, not hating it. High praise from Al. I only dislike it. I don't hate it.
Okay, but moving on to something that I am still not sure whether I like or not, and that is Balatro. I've been playing that more. I think I talked about it on a previous episode, but I've been playing it more, and I still can't decide if I like it or not. It feels... I think the thing that annoys me is there's no room for error, right? You've played Balatro, right?
I have.
Yeah. So I think the thing that frustrates me is you get a really great run and then you have one round not one round, what is it they call it? One blind where, oh no, that is a round. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Where you just have a terrible hand after terrible hand and there's nothing you can do because it's only like, you've only managed to have like a certain number of rounds before and there wasn't, you've done all the things you could have done and it's just not worked out well and you fail it and then you're like, well, back to the start, I guess. And that I find very frustrating. I am having fun with the figuring out different combinations of jokers and the best way to use them to build up big hands. It's just really frustrating that then you're like, oh, now I have to start it all again from scratch after one failure. Yeah, I don't like that.
Yeah, and I guess that's what they're going for, right? Because, they want winning a run to be not a thing that happens all the time. And have you won a run yet?
No, not yet. I got to. I don't know. So do you have to just do? Is it the 8 sets of blinds? Is that how you win
Yes.
by getting to the end
Yeah.
of that? Right. I've been on 7 out of 8. So that's the
Right.
furthest I've been. I've never got to 8 yet.
Yeah, so like my experience with Balatro was like I was kind of in the same spot as you. I was like, I don't know if I'm really enjoying this. And then I beat a run, and then I went back and I was like, I feel like I kind of cracked what the formula is for how to beat a run in Balatro. And to your point, like there's lots of different combinations of jokers and different ways you could get there. But I also couldn't see many other paths. Like, so I tried a couple of runs after beating it, and like it was very obvious to me very early which runs were going to have a chance of being successful versus ones that is like, oh, I'm not going to make it very far. And at that point, I was like, no, I actually am not enjoying this. Like, I got to do the thing where I beat it once, so I sort of, have seen what the game has to offer, and I just don't think it's a very good version of that sort of game. Right? I would much rather play something like Slay the Spire.
I keep hearing about Slay the Spire. I've never actually investigated it. So is that what it's like? A similar sort of idea?
Yeah, so Slay the Spire is, I guess, different in that there are different characters with very different deck styles, and there's a lot more, in my view, there is a lot more creativity in something like Slay the Spire. It's probably not as popular as Balatro because it doesn't rely on common mechanics that I think are accessible to a wider group of people.
I don't know. I feel like you hear a lot about Balatro just now, but I've heard about Slay the Spire from so many people over so many years that I feel like it is a very popular game. It's just Balatro is newer, and therefore it's getting more attention right now.
So I think Slay the Spire is very popular with people that are in the genre of these sorts of games, whereas I feel like Balatro has jumped out of people that are into deck builder games and has become more generically popular, would be my take. So I think Balatro is bringing in people that wouldn't normally play these games, whereas Slay the Spire was very much like people who are into these games know that Slay the Spire is like the premiere of these sorts of games.
Okay, fair enough. It does. I don't have exact numbers for these things, obviously, but it does look like Balatro has outsold Slay the Spire. 2 million sales for Balatro in August. And the latest number I can see for Slay the Spire is 1.5, but that was in 2019, so it's possible it's higher now. But obviously, as we know, these things always make the most of their sales very early on.
Yeah.
In the first couple of months, and then the first big sale. Oh, 90% off. Well, I may as well buy it then. It would be rude not to.
It absolutely would be.
I feel like I'm going to get to the same point as you did, where I really do want to at least have one run where I've completed it, especially seeing as how I theorized that was it, like the out of 8 meant that once you finish 8 you've beaten it, and because I've been pretty close, I feel like I want to do that, and because I'm pretty sure I got a higher score in one round than the round I failed. I just had a bad hand, and sometimes it's just not possible to overcome that if you've not kind of. I mean, I guess people would argue if you get the right jokers, then you can deal with anything, but I don't think that's quite true. There's only so much.
No, it's definitely true. I would say the run I won. I knew I was going to win before going into the final because, like, my deck was absurdly consistent.
Well, anyway, we'll see what happens.
And I guess it was like I was relying on like a pair, or maybe it was even high card. So it was like it was not.
Yeah, I mean that is kind of where I've been going with things as well. But I still found that because that was the round I managed to get up to 7 as I was doing pairs. Because I was like, this feels like a good consistent thing to do, because you're almost always going to have a pair, and if you don't have a pair, you're almost always going to be able to discard and get a pair next. It's like so easy, especially if you've done added any extra cards to your deck. But it wasn't quite hitting the numbers that it needed to.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's the other thing that annoys me a little bit about it. I don't want to talk too much about it because we might be talking about it in the future, but the other thing that annoys me about it is you like build up one of the hands and then suddenly a pair is worth more than a royal flush, and you're like, why would I ever do a higher hand now? And it becomes a bit annoying. So if you're, got to the point where you can't get any higher with a pair because your jokers are all maxed out with what you can do, there's nowhere to go from there because you've put all of your effort into that one hand, and now the other ones are pathetic compared to it,
Yeah, I think that's kind of what you're meant to do, though, right? It's like you start out with many possible strategies, and then based on the jokers and that sort of thing, you'll try. Like, ultimately, these sorts of games, you are trying to get your deck to do the same thing every single turn. So I think the run I ran with, we had some stuff that enabled higher multipliers the more you discarded, and so just use all of the discards on the first turn, play a high card or a pair or whatever it was, and the game was over, right? And it was just consistent. We could just do that every single game and get 250, 300,000 points.
Yeah,
and that's what the game is sort of pushing you towards doing. So, and I think this is where it sort of disconnects from reality, or from what we know as poker, where it's like, well, getting a royal flush is really hard, so that should be worth stuff.
Exactly. Yeah.
The point of the game is to make it, it's like it was worth stuff, like 17 blinds ago. Now that is just not useful enough to even worry about.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's talk about the news, because we can lovely segue into the first piece of news, which is that Balatro have announced some more packs of cards, including a Stardew pack of cards.
Yeah.
I haven't used any of these limited packs because I think there was like a Witcher one, and I'm not interested in the Witcher, and I can't even remember what the other ones were in the first update, but none of them kind of screamed at me that I wanted to bother doing them. So I can't even remember how to do it. I'll need to go double check in the settings to see how it works. But I think it's just like in the settings, isn't it? You can do that from the start of the game. You don't have to unlock these packs, right?
I'm not sure. I haven't actually tried any of these, but I think these sorts of collaborations are cool, and it makes total sense in a game like Balatro, where they can just add a couple of jokers. I think they're reskinning the base deck as well to have imagery associated with whichever pack you're using, which I think is quite cool.
Yeah, it is. Fun fact I saw about this is Concerned Ape did all the art for the Stardew deck.
That's cool.
Yeah, just constantly showing that he can do everything. So if you want that, it's a free update. If you already own Balatro, your game should just update, and if you don't own Balatro and you want to do it, then go do it.
Yep.
Next we have Fae Farm have announced that their Xbox version is delayed, so very sad for anybody who cares about that. Do you care about that? Of course you don't care about
that. No.
But have you seen the conspiracy theories?
No.
This is
I'm
amazing.
Excited.
I was reading through the Twitter replies. It's absolutely amazing. There are so many conspiracy theories in this because they think that this is delayed because they've done a deal with Sony.
So they're delaying releasing their own game on a platform because of PlayStation.
Yeah, because why? This is just such a bizarre suggestion. I love it. It's unhinged.
It's such a in this day and age where everyone loves to take sides on everything, it is such a classic I'm on Xbox, everything bad that happens to Xbox is the fault of PlayStation. Where
yeah. It's literally right. People. Like there's, I'm looking at like the top 10, and at least half of them are people saying, "Oh, you've done a deal with Sony. Congratulations on losing fans."
Oh my god!
I know, it's so stupid. Oh dear. Amazing. Anyway, so if you wanted to play Fae Farm on Xbox, that's delayed. I don't think we know when. The other versions are out now, so it's pretty much on everything except Xbox now. Though this is the funny thing, right? Like if they're like, oh, it's gonna conspiracy theory. What? It was first released on Windows, right? On PC. Why would there suddenly be a conspiracy for it to? And why would the conspiracy be about specifically Xbox? And like, why would they let it go on on Switch. And if there was going to be this conspiracy, why would they wait until the day that it was meant to come out to announce the delay? Why would they ever announce the date of it? Bizarre.
Yeah, actually, that's maybe the best point, right? Is like PlayStation and Sony are the worst with any cross-platform stuff. So yeah, it wouldn't be coming out on anything else if it was Sony.
Yeah. And the thing is that these deals happen all the time, right? So it's not like this is an odd idea, and so they would want to keep it secret. No, they like when they constantly say it when it's exclusives. Why do you need to conspiracy theorize everything?
Because it's the world we live in now.
Apparently so. Next we have your other favourite game here, Johnny. Turnip Boy Robs a Bank.
Boo.
Thank you. I was waiting for the reaction. They have announced that they're coming to mobile.
Interesting. Did Turnip Boy Commits Tax Evasion come to mobile?
Yes.
Okay, that makes sense then, because I was going to say, if Turnip Boy Robs a Bank has come to mobile before, like, they didn't commits tax evasion, that would have been an interesting choice, because I could totally see playing Turnip Boy Commits Tax Evasion on mobile. The bullet hell, bullet heaven nature of Turnip Boy Robs a Bank makes me feel like it's maybe not a great fit for mobile. It'd be interesting to see how it plays.
Yeah, I don't know, because I feel like things like Vampire Survivors, are they not really popular on mobile?
Yeah, and like, I love Vampire Survivors. The thought of trying to play that game on mobile just does not fill me with joy.
I'm not saying that it's a good experience or one you would enjoy. I just like the surprising things end up being popular on mobile.
Yeah, that's totally fair. Like, although I don't know how popular things like Vampire Survivors are, but I guess given the number of those sorts of games that seem to be converting to mobile, they must be doing pretty well. And I don't know, like, my take on this is, if you really want to play Turnip Boy Robs a Bank and you are listening to the show, play it on the thing that you have that is not your phone. It will be better.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. Yeah, I think it would be a better experience on the Switch or the Steam Deck than it would be on mobile. But some people, it's the only thing they've got. Girdlets, they have announced a spooky content update. So with the game being obviously relatively simple, it's just cosmetic stuff. But I mean, that's the game.
That's the game.
So if you like Girdlets, you'll be happy with more, probably.
Yeah. So I have mixed feelings on this getting like spooky stuff, and that's partly because when I first played it, I kind of wanted it to have more stuff in general, and like, I feel like there was more stuff that I wanted before you start getting maybe the theme specific stuff. So while cool that it's getting more stuff, I'm like, this is not the new stuff that I was hoping for.
That is fair. I think I know why they've done it, and that's because this probably is much better and easier to explain to people. Ooh, it's a spooky content update rather than we've got a new update with a bunch of stuff that would be quite disparate.
I completely agree. I'm just being selfish and saying I want the stuff that I very specifically want, and they should just work on that.
Never. Right. My Time at Sandrock have announced a new update as well. This is their anniversary update and Love Chronicles DLC. I'm not quite sure what the anniversary update has, because all they talk about is cowboy outfits, but presumably it has more than that.
It would be weird if it was called the Love Chronicle DLC and...
Well, so there's two separate things. So there's two separate things. So the anniversary update has the cowboy outfits. The Love Chronicles DLC has...
Right.
I'm not sure, because so it says the Love Chronicles DLC is officially launching on November the 1st. We know you've been looking forward to it, and it's almost here. So that feels like they've explained it elsewhere. Mm-hmm. But I'll be honest, I'm not reading much about this game. Whether you want to deepen your connection with Fang, Logan, Mian, or Nia, this is the perfect chance to explore more of their stories and relationships. Are they putting relationship progress behind a paywall?
It certainly sounds that way. Although maybe it's converting some previously non-romanceable characters into romanceable, which I guess is more work, and maybe that's why it's behind a paywall. Yeah. I don't know. It's crazy to me that My Time at Samrock has been out for a year. It feels like that game only just came out.
Well, yeah, and the being out for a year is the non-early access. I'm pretty sure it was in early access for a while before that. Yeah, May 22 was the early access release. So there we go. I don't really have much to say about My Time at Sandrock. If you're excited about it, listener, there you go. Go look in the show notes and you can try and figure out what's in this update. Horticular have also announced their Halloween update. This is the 1.2 update. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a bunch of spooky stuff. I feel like Horticular has kind of been on my list of like game I really want to try for a while, and I just haven't quite got round to playing.
Fair. I might play it at some point. I'm not like desperate to, but I can see that it looks interesting. But it's hard to justify playing any games nowadays, right? So many of them.
I just think there's so many, and like, I think one of the challenges that a lot of farming games have is they have a relatively long time commitment, and particularly the first few days or that sort of ramp up thing where the formula has become so known, it can actually be hard to grab players early because you're often doing something that feels quite similar, right? Whether it's like you're planting your first thing and waiting for it to grow and maybe meeting some villagers. And it's kind of like, because we've done that loop so many times, it's not as novel as it was when we first, tried out Stardew or whatever that first game was for us.
Yeah. And Disney Dreamlight Valley have announced a showcase update, a showcase for their next update. This will, annoyingly, have happened by the time before this episode comes out, but after we're recording. So, yeah, it's like exactly 24 hours before this episode comes out that this is happening. So we'll have more for it in the next episode.
What's your big prediction now? So because people will be able to guess.
I need to watch this little video, don't I, to figure out what I'm. Okay, so we've got a book and we've got Hades and what's her name? Maleficent.
You've got Maleficent and is that Hades? I thought that was.
It's Hades, yeah. Oh, do you thought that was Ursula? No, Hades. He has the fire.
No, you're right. It's Hades.
So, are they already in the game, or is it just going to be them?
I feel like it's going to just be them. Maybe it's like the sort of story where it's like two different bad guys, but you kind of have to work with each of them to kind of stop the other one because their goals are sort of, both evil and they're kind of, bad people fighting each other. Yeah. Kind of like how you work with Ursula in the early stages of the game.
Yeah. I'm also wondering, because they have said that there's going to be a new DLC, but they haven't announced what it is or anything about it. So I'm wondering if they might also talk about that.
Oh, yeah, sorry. I think this is very much implying that this is the next DLC.
Well, it's going to have both. They're not going to just talk about a DLC. Like, they have clearly decided, since they are no longer free to play, that they're going to lean into, we are always going to have free updates as well. So I think they'll announce the next free update and the DLC.
Yeah, I think so. So my take is that the characters like Maleficent and Hades fit more from a DLC perspective. I think what they've been doing with the free updates is putting all of the main good characters, I guess, into those free updates, and the story has often weighted more towards sort of the evil characters. There was a lot of stuff recently around Scar.
So there was like an overarching story in the first set of DLCs, but there were also the smaller ones, right? And the overarching one was that Jafar?
Yes.
So is this hinting at Maleficent and Hades together being the overarching story of the next DLC? Or
that's my guess.
I wonder if there's like some sort of disagreement between the two of them that leads to chaos outside of that, and you have to stop this, maybe something like that.
That sounds good.
We'll find out, and we'll bring it to you hopefully in the next episode, assuming nothing goes wrong.
It sounded very ominous.
Very aware of people's mortality, shall we say. I'm not planning on dying, for the record. It's just, you never know.
Unnecessarily grim, but okay, let's...
If I died, how long would my Patreon still get money?
I think for a long time, like, people just forget, right? I mean, at the very least, I forget, so...
Yeah. Especially if you have multiple, right? And you just have, like, here is the monthly Patreon thing, and you don't think about
Correct.
who's in that.
Yep.
All right. So, it is the Halloween episode. That's just how it is. So that's all of the updates for existing games. We also have 2 new games to talk about. First up, we have a My Little Life, which is, if you remember, I've forgotten the name of it.
Rusty's Retirement.
Rusty's Retirement. Thank you, Johnny. If you remember Rusty's Retirement, which was a farming game that ran at the bottom or the side of your screen on your computer while you're doing other things, this is that, but a more standard life sim rather than a farming sim. So if you like that, maybe you'll like this.
Yeah, and like this one looks cool. Like the idea that you are building rooms and putting stuff in, and look, your character poops. That's a thing that is like it's very
Everybody
prominent
poops.
in the thing. But it looks like you can like build quite a big town. And there's a piece where they show, in order to recruit other villagers, or other townspeople, you have to have like a certain combination of items. So it seems like there's like, going to be quite a good little discovery element to it. Very strangely, at the end of the teaser trailer, they show My Little Life playing with Rusty's Retirement above it, which for me had the like question of, is that a legit collaboration, or is it just that, they were inspired and they kind of wanted to show that it's the same idea, and so they just put Rusty's Retirement in their announcement video? I'm not sure, but, very clearly maybe similar sources of inspiration.
Yeah, because it's definitely a different developer, because I saw the Rusty's developer plugging this, but it's a different person developing it. Yeah, I don't know. It looks a little
literally
bit
the first thing they show is your character pooping. Like, I just can't get past like how much they show people pooping in this game.
Well, it is a life sim, and that's a big part of my life. It certainly seems like this one with the scope of it seems a lot bigger, because obviously there's upgrades and stuff in the farm, but you are just basically running a farm, and there's limits to how you can do that with the space and the way that they designed it. Whereas because this has like, I think it has scrolling. It looks like you can scroll along.
Yeah.
So you have quite a lot more room for expanding things here.
Absolutely.
The other new game that we have is Ghost Town Pumpkin Festival. So this is from the creator of A Short Hike, so already got my interest there. It is a pumpkin carving MMO.
What?
It's an MMO, a massively multiplayer online game for pumpkin carving.
So wait, like you just jump on and you're carving with a bunch of people?
I think the idea is you carve your own pumpkin, but then you can see what everybody else is carving in this town.
That sounds kind of great.
I haven't actually played it yet, but it is available for Windows, Mac, and Linux. And it is pay what you want, so that's cool. That's is awesome. Only running until sometime in November. They haven't announced exactly when, but so I mean, if you're listening to this now, when the episode comes out, you might only have a day. Go get carving.
That is a very cool thing to exist.
Yes, I wonder at what point they decided that this was a cool idea and that they were actually going to go for it. And I can imagine the stress of, oh no, it's August, we got to get finished.
Yeah, like a lot of games want to come out before Christmas because they want to get the Christmas rush right. This game has to come out in October
Yeah,
or it doesn't work.
yeah, exactly. I wonder if they'll set it up again next year. Like, it feels like something they could do as like an ephemeral MMO, a yearly ephemeral MMO.
I hope so, because I think it's just a super cool idea.
Yeah, like that in and of itself makes it completely unique. And I kind of like the ephemeral nature of that because it is like, the point is it's this, like, pumpkins are ephemeral in and of themselves, right? Like they die, rot,
Yes.
whatever. And the idea of like every October you're starting new with a new pumpkin sounds kind of cool.
It does. And I wish there was more. I kind of wish, like, I think the nature of games has progressed such that people kind of don't like to lose progress or lose access to stuff, right? And I am much more in the category of, like, I like games as sort of contained experiences. Going back to the start of the episode where we talked about Pokemon, like, I don't have Pokemon Bank because I don't care about having access to my Pokemon. They exist in the game that I play them with. I enjoy that experience, and then I like to move on to a new one, and I have no need to transfer or take those Pokemon. So I don't use Bank or whatever the... It's not Bank, right? What's this new one?
Home.
Home, yeah. So I don't have Home because I kind of just feel like that those games should just be that experience, and then you move on and you have a new experience. And so I like stuff like this that kind of encourages people to have more sort of contained experiences and not have this persistent, I have to keep everything with me at all times sort of nature.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, I completely disagree with you on the Pokemon front, but agree with you on a conceptual nature. All right, that's all of the news then. So we are going to talk about spooky stuff in cottage-core games, or farming games. I think it's pretty much turning out into farming games, right?
Yeah, sure.
Oh, you've got another game written down there.
Yes.
Okay. It counts as a farming game. There's farming in it now.
No, it does not count as a farming game.
This was an idea that, Jonnie had, when I suddenly remembered that we had Halloween coming up and we did not have a Halloween episode. So the idea is that there are lots of mysteries in games. So we're going to talk about a few of our most spooky and interesting mysteries in farming games that we like, or cottagecore games that we like. Is that a fair explanation? Doesn't really need much
That is a fair explanation. You know, like any good mystery, we might delve into some conspiracy theories, into some of the all of the weird and wonderful, and some of the unexplained things that happen in the games that we love.
Absolutely. Well, Jonnie, would you like to start us off?
All right. I'm going to start us off with Animal Crossing. And
I can't imagine anything being spooky in Animal Crossing.
Well, I don't know if I don't know if it's spooky as much as it is unexplained. So I think it's the very first Animal Crossing, there is a letter that you get from your mum, and it says, "My dear," character's name, "I hope you don't mind all these strange letters, but I just want to share my life with you. Even if you have chosen to live with animals, which I'll never understand. Don't they smell? Love, Mum." That letter has huge implications for how you think about the Animal Crossing world, because it implies the existence of other humans, the fact that your character has decided to go and live with the animals, maybe some sort of segregated society going on. You lay it in.
Yeah, I love the idea that animals are sentient and intelligent and able to create societies like humans are, but they're segregated.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
And you layer into that there are some items in Animal Crossing, like there is the hamster cage, there is the catch tower, that also implies the existence of animals as we think of animals today, right? Like there are, we have fish in the game that we catch, there are insects in the game that we catch. So it kind of gets you thinking about what is the nature of the other villages and the animals in Animal Crossing.
Yeah, that's interesting. Because obviously the interesting thing about the other animals, like the I hesitate to say non-sentient, but I guess the non-intelligent versions of those animals, some of them are the same. Like you have a hamster. The hamster is a kind of villager you get in Animal Crossing. and the fish and bug collections are run by an animal. So there's obviously not just like a generic offense that animals would take to the idea of you keeping animals as pets.
Yes.
So is there then three levels in this hierarchy? The humans who think they're better than the animals, and the sentient animals who think they're better than the other animals?
Exactly. Right. Well, and there's potentially a fourth layer to add to it, because within the animal villager construct, there are those that seem natural, but there are also robotic animals. There is one villager that is inflatable. How do they exist? How Al? How? Please explain.
A good question. I don't think I have an explanation. Sorry.
Also, why do the it's interesting in that the animal villagers, they never really other you as being human, but equally they don't talk about humans as being a thing. And while they don't, like, you are very much put on a pedestal, right, in the society. And you could say, well, that's just the nature of the game. It's just the player character. But the player character is a human in a world full of animals, and, you're always the mayor, or kind of, you're the one that makes whatever town you are in run, right?
Mm-hmm.
So yes, I kind of went down
and I think that is if I remember, for New Horizons, that is, I mean, I think in New Leaf it's almost accidental, right? You just appear and they're like, "Oh, you are our mayor, aren't you?" And you're like, "Am I?"
Yes,
if I remember
the new mayor was arriving that day. Yeah.
Yeah, so I guess that would make sense, right? Like, the only human to arrive should be the mayor, right? That would make sense. Why would another human arrive? So of course you're going to be the mayor. But if I remember correctly, in New Horizons, it's almost like you can just do some stuff. Like, you're not the mayor in New Horizons, but you are kind of put above the rest, and like, you can be important here. We've got stuff to do. You can do it.
Yes.
And maybe that is the same thing. It's like, that's because you are human and automatically assumed to be a leader.
Yeah. You did delve into... So I went kind of deep on, like, various Animal Crossing conspiracy theories, which kind of slightly segues into the second one, which is for New Leaf, is that your character is actually a criminal on the run who murdered the person that was supposed to be mayor, and didn't realize that they were supposed to be mayor, and stole their ticket.
Yep, I like that one.
That one's kind of like, that conspiracy theory just exists. There's never going to be any evidence that either proves or disproves it, because they're never it's never going to come out.
Oh yeah, like, if you ever asked, if Nintendo were to ever explain, that wouldn't be the case, but that's
Correct.
What makes it fun.
Yes. But so going back to the animal sort of theory, the most interesting side of that I think I've come across is that the human population is kind of slowly becoming extinct, and so humans managed to create these or I guess pass sentience on through whichever means you want to assume to animals, and you've kind of got this sort of expanding, growing animal society where you've got this human society who's segregated themselves from the animals, and that's why your character going to live with them is kind of weird, but also sort of humans are in that sort of fearful state, and it explains why there's so many uninhabited sorts of islands and lots of unexplored land, and why the animals don't really bump into humans is because they're sort of in this one segment, and you have chosen to sort of brave the gap and cross over into their society.
Interesting.
So not very spooky, but when I pitched this episode, that was not the sort of thing I was expecting to come across, and primarily started from one little letter, which I absolutely love. So that's my first one. Al, what have you got?
So my first one is it's probably one that quite a few people know about, but just if people aren't aware, in Stardew you can disappear your children. In the witch's hut, one of the options is to give a prismatic shard to the dark shrine of selfishness, and that will make it so your children don't exist. They don't die, they just don't exist. They will turn into doves and they are gone, and I believe no one ever talks about them. Except, and this is where the creepiness comes into it, you will sometimes, when watching TV, you will see a message on the TV that says, "You've brought this upon yourself, now I'm free, he he he," and an ancient doll will pop out of the TV. Sometimes also you will receive a phone message, and it says, "You place the receiver to your ear and are met with a roiling, abrasive static, but wait, beneath it all, you can make out something else, an otherworldly voice. You have forsaken us." So I just like the creepiness of the idea that your children still exist somewhere, and they've decided to haunt you because of your selfishness.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's a good theory. It's definitely creepy, but it's kind of creepy in the way that there should be creepiness if you choose to, sacrifice your children.
For sure.
It's yeah. I feel like it's one of those things that you wouldn't expect in a game like Stardew, and when it happens, I can see it being very disconcerting. But I also don't think I would ever end up in that position, because who is sacrificing their children?
People who want to get all of the achievements but don't actually want children.
I guess that is fair.
No, it is not.
No. Okay, that's fair.
What is your next one?
Let's stick with Stardew. And this one is, I guess, I've seen a few different versions, but it's the Stardew is Purgatory sort of idea. So this really, I guess, leans into the fact that you can just play endless numbers of years and no one ever ages and nothing ever changes. So I've seen, I guess the two different versions I've seen most often are the player character is dead, and you and the rest of the village are basically in purgatory, and all of the stuff happens, and it just it works nicely in the same way that the ashes in a coma theory works, where it's not a theory that I particularly like or think is good, but it lines up nicely because basically the characters don't age. The version that I maybe like a little bit more is that the wizard is kind of keeping everybody in stasis because something significant has happened in the outside world, and he is effectively resetting the year each year. So while time feels like it's progressing within the game, nobody is aging because the wizard is trying to research a way to fix the thing that is broken outside of your bubble.
Interesting. I guess that would explain why seasons are so abrupt as well.
Yes. And I think kind of both of those theories for me are kind of, it's just a theory that kind of, explains video game mechanics more than anything else. But I'm kind of interested in the nature of magic in the world of Stardew, because you've got the Junimos, and I'll admit I haven't done much research into the Junimos and if there's any sort of lore behind them, but you've got the wizard and the witch as well, and then you've got Krobus and how he fits into everything. So yeah, Al, have you thought much about the nature of magic in Stardew Valley?
Not really. I have been interested a little bit in the witch because the witch exists possibly in two different scenarios, but I don't know if it's the same one, right? Because you have the witch's hut. You never meet the witch in there, but there is a witch. And you also sometimes get the witch going over your farm and giving you an egg, a void egg. And I'm not sure whether that's meant to be the same witch or a different witch. So that is a question I have. And I want to know more about the witch because we know nothing about her other than she was married to the wizard.
Yes. I've always assumed it was the same witch. I haven't thought about the possibility of the existence of multiple witches. And I think what's interesting about the fact that they used to be married is we never get an explanation for why they broke up, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so, is that something significant that has caused something that is, present or related to the games?
Yeah, interesting, because it definitely... We don't know anything about why it happened, but we do know that it wasn't a great breakup, shall we say, because he's not willing to go and meet her to get something that he needs. So you have to go and get it for him.
Yes.
So either it was a really bad breakup or he's just a massive baby, I guess.
I mean, I don't like the idea of him being a massive baby just because that's Klinskinnick, so...
You're allowed to.
I'm just going to throw one really small other Stardew Valley theory out there. This is maybe my favorite because it's so silly, is that Linus founded Jojo Mart. It's just a dumb conspiracy theory that he founded Jojo Mart. And he, chooses the life that the character in the game now chooses because of the guilt.
Interesting.
That's what I have on Stardew.
We're limiting ourselves to one Stardew thing each. No?
We can go more if we want to.
And let's keep going and see how we feel when we get to the end, because we're both tired. My next one is the Evil Farming Game. Now, this needs a little bit of background. Basically, there was a person who posted on Twitter in 2016 trying to find out, trying to get the name of a game that they had experienced or heard of. They weren't quite sure. They were a little bit unsure of things. But they posted, basically, it was kind of like Harvest Moon, but with a dark twist. You stab your wife to death, and you run your life like a, Stardew Valley, Harvest Moon type thing, farming to remain unsuspicious. But part of the game is that you have to hide the corpse of your wife from the cops who visit your house occasionally. They said it wasn't 3D, it wasn't on a browser, it was on a console, but they weren't sure what. And it was released sometime between 2000 and 2015. And this let off a multiple year hunt for people on the internet of trying to figure out what this game was. There then turned out to be other people who posted similarly, saying same sort of thing, that it was basically explaining it in the exact same sort of way. And so people were like, what is this game? We need to figure out what this game is. It sounds interesting. And, people just like mystery, and they like to figure this out. There's a Google Doc in the show notes that goes through all the information and all of the investigation that people went through. But it was actually solved a few years ago. And it turns out it didn't exist.
It didn't exist?
It didn't exist. So basically, the solution around it is that there was somebody who had done a Twitch stream. I think the idea was that they were coming up with ideas for games, and they came up with this as an idea for a game, and that then stuck in someone's brain as this is a real game that exists. But they'd forgotten where they'd originally heard of it, and that's where it led to that. And then obviously other people then got the same idea in their head probably from reading this or from reading other things, and this just led to like a cycle of people convincing themselves that it existed.
That is that the Mandela effect? Is that what that's
so
called?
I mean, so part of the problem is that these things are hard to study. The Mandela effect is a little bit different in that it's kind of similar in so much as like there's a large number of people who believe that something was the case that isn't the case. And no, we're not talking about, conspiracy theories, election denialism or anything like that. It comes from, if you want to know the history of the Mandela effect, it comes from the idea that there were a significant number of people who honestly remembered and believed that Nelson Mandela, had died in prison rather than getting out and becoming president of South Africa. And like, we're talking like thousands of people on the internet saying that they honestly believe this. Now, whether they were actually saying that or not, I don't. Whether they meant that, whether they were just saying it to go along with it, who knows? But it's not, because this is something that apparently happened before a large number of people were on the internet, right? Because the idea is he would have died in 88 or 89 in prison if he had died. He wouldn't have died any later than that because he got out in 90, I think. it's a complicated thing, and the fact that people now know that that is a thing that can happen, maybe, is that then they leads to more and more of these things existing. So it might be related in a way, right? I think there's some more silly ones, like there's a was it a book series, or was it something called the Bernstein Bears in America? I can't remember what it was because I've no idea. I've never seen or heard of it outside of the Mandela effect. But the one around that is that people believed it was spelt differently than it actually was. And that is obviously a really stupid one because that's just people being stupid. But yeah, I don't know. There are other Mandela effects, apparently. There's not much research into how much of it is actually true because you actually have to rely on people believing that people are telling the truth, I guess.
Yeah. This going back to the evil game, the level of documentation that is done, and like if you have not heard of this before, like I hadn't, it's just worth looking through the Google Doc that exists that explains all of this. Like it's not super long. It's 11 pages with a ton of links, and I think this sort of stuff is just like, I love this sort of stuff in games, right? Where it's just fascinating. It's well documented. It's kind of just crazy that this is like the core concept being a game about murdering your wife and hiding the body. It sounds very sort of like a early 2000s thing that you can totally imagine would have existed. So it's like just believable enough, right?
Yes, and I think it sounds interesting enough as a slightly different farming game that people would be interested in playing it. And it also took hold in the time that Stardew was becoming really popular, right? This was posted in 2016, the year that Stardew came out. And then 2017 was the year that Stardew became super popular because it was the only game on the Switch.
Yeah.
I'm trying to find the exact information about how it was at the solution because I know... Oh, there's a post on the subreddit from 5 months ago of someone saying it's real and no other information, but I'm assuming that someone has created a game. They've created the game now, presumably, but
that would not surprise me if like this led to the game being created.
Yes, exactly.
So the lesson to take from this is, if you want a game to exist and it doesn't, pretend that it does, make a good conspiracy about it, and then someone will make the game.
Yeah, why not? I'm trying to find the confirmation of exactly what the solution... I don't know. Anyway, the game almost certainly doesn't exist, or didn't exist, and it was a perfect storm period of time, 2016, 2017, that sort of time, a wild time in life.
Like,
just an aside,
moment.
Have you ever heard the real life theory, as in the theory about real life, not a theory about a game, the theory that 2016 was a point where the universe altered into a separate universe, and that's why things have been really weird since 2016?
I have not heard that theory.
I love the idea that this could tie into it, in that because this was posted in 2016, someone was like, I'm sure this existed, and like they've switched into the other universe that it doesn't exist in.
I feel
that's
like
also that's also another theory about the Mandela effect. I don't know whether people actually take it seriously or not, but the theory is that the people who have the Mandela effect are from a different universe, and they were switched at some point to this universe from their other universe.
I feel like that could be true, but if the 2016 theory is true, we would be in the world that has the farming game where you murder your wife.
Because that's weirder. Yeah,
like,
but it might also...
If we're in the normal universe...
It would make the universe better, wouldn't it? That existing?
I don't know that games about murdering your spouse are necessarily a great thing to have in the world. If you want to disagree with that take out, you are more than welcome to.
No, I love my wife. Anyway,
I'm trying really hard to not make jokes about you murdering your wife.
Yeah, please don't. Okay, what's your... Have you got 3 as well as me, or have you got more?
I have got the last one. I'm gonna stick with Stardew for the last one,
Go
because
for
this
it.
one's just so like. This one is I find it to be genuinely creepy, which is the cursed mannequins.
Oh,
I
yeah, okay. Yeah,
yeah.
go for it. Can
I
I
don't
just
know.
point out it is 10:30 at night, and I am sitting in my office, which is a separate building from the rest of my house, and I have to go outside in the dark to get back to my house after this. So just wanna put that out there. Anyway, yes, talk about the
It's
creepy mannequins. I hate them.
Yeah, they're so weird. I think they're in one of the more recent updates, like maybe they're a 1.6.
I think they were
Um,
a 1.6 update. Yeah.
yeah, so they're a piece of furniture that you can place in your house. They're like a mannequin, but every night when you go to sleep, basically they can do one of 3 things. So if it's wearing clothes, it can swap that with the clothes that the player is wearing. Um, it can move just around the house, and it can change the wallpaper and flooring. And if it does, it when you wake up, it's like violently shaking. I don't know why this exists. It's exceptionally creepy. It adds nothing to the game. It's just weird.
Yes. Thankfully, they only do these things if you have them placed around your house. So stick
Yes.
them in a chest and stick it at the farthest reaches of your farm. That's what I did.
There's also you can turn them into a normal mannequin.
Oh, can you? I missed that.
Yes.
Go
So
on.
if a cursed mannequin is placed in the chapel in Pierre's General Store, it will become a normal mannequin the next day. So you can decursify your mannequins.
Yeah. Uh, you're basically having a, what's it called?
Exorcism.
An exorcism. Yeah, you're exorcising your mannequin.
Yep. Um, it's just super weird, super creepy, and it has no need to exist, right?
as all
The one
as
thing,
all the best things do, right?
yeah. The one thing I do wonder is like, does this like, is this something that Concerned Date was testing out for Haunted Chocolatier?
Oh, interesting. See, I was thinking, was it originally a bug? And then he was like, that is a great idea. I need to make that real now.
Into a thing. I like that theory. That's a good theory.
Because you can absolutely see a bug where he's like, just something stupid happens and he wakes up and the clothes are switched and is like, oh, that's a brilliant idea. I love it.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's horrifying. I hate them so much. I have to convince myself that although you never see the character getting changed when they get into bed, I have to believe that the character gets changed into pajamas when they go to bed. And so therefore it's less creepy that the mannequin's in your clothes, right? Because otherwise the mannequin is getting you undressed.
Oh, I hadn't thought about the logistical element of what was happening.
And that's a
that's very
horrifying
creepy.
idea.
Yeah.
And I didn't notice the mannequin getting me undressed while I was sleeping. Oh no. No. Please no. Can't deal with that.
Yeah. Okay. That's enough talk about these cursed mannequins. What have you got now?
Okay, so I feel like a similar level of creepiness. Have you ever heard about the cellar groans in Coral Island?
I don't think I have.
So the good thing is this does actually have a solution that is less creepy. But let's go with the creepiness. So if you before the 1.1 update, I don't think the cellar existed. It just existed as doors next to your house, which now you can unlock it. It's expansion of your house, and you've got a cellar like you do in Stardew Valley. But before that, it's just you see the like storm shelter doors that you see a lot of the time in areas that have tornadoes and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
The standard thing where you're the tornado film, and that's where you go. You go into the cellar through those doors. But if you walk up to it, I think it's on like rainy days. Sometimes you will hear groans coming from the cellar doors, and you need to let me get of. So if you go into the link on the Reddit link that I've posted, the video has it.
Oh, that's really weird.
Isn't it? It's really creepy.
Oh, that's like very. It's very ghastly.
Yeah. And so obviously there were, before the 1.1 update, there were many theories about what is behind these doors. Like, is this like a story thing where it turns out that you're actually a psychopath and you have someone locked down there? Or like, what is happening down there? Is it a haunted area that you get to go in? Turns out it was just a cellar, but that doesn't remove away the groaning. The groaning, do you want to know the actual reason for it?
Yes.
It's a frog. There's a specific frog that makes that noise.
I mean, I do like that because, like, if you've ever done camping or, you know, been out in the dark in nature where there's animals around, animal sounds do sound weird at night, and they are very creepy.
Yeah, I 100% understand why there are so many stories from humans over the centuries of monsters and all these things, because my goodness, some things are creepy. There was one time where I was helping run a campsite, and there was no one there except the three of us that were running the campsite this night. We were just kind of setting some things up, and let me tell you, we heard the most horrifying noise. We heard what sounded like was somebody shouting for help from a beach, because we were right next to the beach, and it was pitch black, and we're like, oh my goodness, I can't not go and figure out if someone needs help, right? Like, if you hear someone shouting for help, I feel like I need to go do it. Especially as it wasn't just me on my own. You know, obviously I'm, you know, male presenting person. I have that privilege, right? Where I'm not going to fear for my life as much as some other people. Like, there were three of us. Like, we need to go do this. It's horrifying. I need to go do this though. We got down to the beach. It was a seal. The seal sounded so much like a human shouting for help. It was kind of creepy in its own right, even though we knew what it was, right?
Yeah, it's weird. I have a similar story. I looked after a house for a while that had emu on it, and at night they make
those are terrifying, by the way. Just seeing
them
run.
They're kind of they're largely harmless. Like, they're nice birds, but yeah, they're quite
harmless. Harmless, sure. But if you don't fully understand them, and you just like, especially if it was like a little bit dusk or whatever, and you just see this large creature just like scurrying past you. Oof.
Yes, and they make a very deep guttural noise that's like very terrifying. I'll have to see if I can find and send it to you, Al, because it's and like, yeah. The first couple of nights, it was just like waking up to that noise going off was very disconcerting.
Emu noise. The sound. Oh, that is so low.
Yes.
I was not expecting that.
So waking up and hearing that in the middle of the night was terrifying.
Yeah. Nature's creepy.
That's why we only play it in video games and from the comfort of our nest houses.
Yeah, with the lights on. Oh dear. Yeah, I went. See, whenever I go to the cinema to watch a horror film of some kind, I don't watch a huge number of them, but I'm trying to kind of push my boundaries a little bit. If I walk into the cinema and there's no one else in there, I'm like, no, I'm not doing this. There needs to be at least two other people here. Two people specifically, so the one person can't kill me, right? Because if it's one person, they're going to murder me. So it has to be two people. If there's no people, the monster's going to get me. If it's one person, they're going to kill me. If it's two people, nobody will do anything. We're all good.
What if it's two people, but they're together?
No, that's not good enough. It has to be two separate groups of people.
Okay. Yeah, this makes sense.
Anyway, there we are. The joys of going to the cinema on your own. And also creepy stuff in games. Woo!
Woo!
And have we freaked ourselves out enough this episode?
You can be the judge of that, because you have to go to bed. I still have a whole day ahead of me to put this behind me.
I'm going to message my wife and see if she's still awake. Thank you, Jonnie, for joining us to talk about this incredibly creepy subject.
Thank you, Al, for having me on.
Where can people find you on the internet? Oh, wait, you don't care.
Correct. No, as always, like, just patreon.com/thspod. Support Al, support the show. Come chat to us about your favorite cozy game conspiracy theories or non-cozy game conspiracy theories. I just like good game conspiracy theories because they're better than the real world conspiracy theories.
Yeah. Cool. You can find me on mastodon.scott as @thescottbot. You can find the podcast on Tumblr at THSPod. You can find links to those and everything else, as well as a feedback form on the website, harvestseason.club. Send us some feedback. Tell us what your favourite creepy thing is in a cottagecore game. Maybe we haven't talked about your favourite one. Maybe you know about ones in games that we haven't played. If it's just Pumpkin Panic in general, yes, that is a horrifyingly creepy game. We already know, thanks. But other things, let us know about them. You can also support the podcast on Patreon, as Jonnie mentioned, patreon.com/thspod, where you can get access to our Slack to talk about things, where you can, I'm sure there'll be people talking about the creepy stuff, but also you can get access to bonus episodes of the podcast, of which there will probably be some new ones soon. Been really bad at that the last couple of months. We'll get more out soon. But there's still lots. If you sign up now, there's, 4 years worth of episodes now? So lots to listen to. I think that's everything. Thank you, Jonnie, again for joining me.
Thanks, Hal.
Thank you, listeners, for listening. And until next time, have a good
harvest.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one. Have a good harvest.
God, that was much better.
The Harvest Season is created by Al McKinley, with support from our patrons, including our pro farmers, Kevin, Stuart, and Elisa. Our art is done by Micah the Brave, and our music is done by Nick Burgess. Feel free to visit our website, harvestseason.club, for show notes and links to things we discussed in this episode. We needed Kevin's enthusiasm on the voices, right?
Yeah. He would have been much better. Although it's probably good that like one of us didn't have to sit opposite Kev doing that, because they'd just be like, no, just not even going to try. He would be so much better. And Al, just to check, when you say like pooping is a large portion of your life, like as a percentage, how much?
Let me just do some maths. So, I maybe poop like 3 or 4 times a day, and then...
What?
Like, for each of those, I'd maybe be on for like 5 minutes. So we're talking about 20 minutes in a day. And how many minutes are there in a day? That many. So we're talking maybe 1%?
Okay. Is 1% a big portion of your life? I guess so.
It
Yes,
feels like a big part. Like,
Yeah.
there aren't many things that would be that much, right? 20 minutes a day?
No, I guess not. I guess not. Well, there you go, listeners. That's probably more than you wanted to know about Al, but that's now there for you to think about.